Now, one of my favourite VR experiences back in the day on the Oculus Rift was Titanic VR. And while you're here, there is two other VR experiences I want to give a shout out to, and that is Mission ISS and Anne Frank. Both of these experiences look absolutely brilliant, and Anne Frank in particular is very emotional. Both of these are fantastic and they're both available on Quest. But today we're here to talk about Titanic VR, and looking back on the PCVR version, it was a beautiful VR experience and it came in two parts. The first was a submarine experience which felt excellently claustrophobic. It looked amazing, but it was slow, and I personally felt it dragged its heels due to this super slow submarine movement. And the game always loved to drop you about 100 meters away from where you need to be every single mission. And the only thing that made up for this was the real interviews you hear from the survivors that helped pass the time.
Did you see the ship sink?
Oh yes, I was looking at it sinking when we were in the lifeboat, because we're in the lifeboats for 9 hours.
You also get to use a smaller robot sub to actually go inside the Titanic and take photos and film rare fish and physically retrieve items to help keep your underwater mission funded by your investors. The second part to the game, well, this could also be called the first part depending on what you select, is you actually get to experience the sinking of Titanic in person in 1912. Unfortunately, you don't get to see the ship struck by ice, but you do get to feel like you're physically on the deck when they're trying to get everyone off the ship and into the life rafts. And while you're on these lifeboats or life rafts, you actually get to see the mammoth ship sink in VR. And obviously scale is something VR does exceptionally well, and all in all it was pretty unforgettable. Well, now Titanic VR has come to the Quest 2 and Quest 3, but it is in early access because for the Quest version right now they haven't released the actual bit I think most people will want to experience, and that's actually seeing the Titanic sink. And at the moment the game simply states this part of it is coming soon, so all you're left with right now is the submarine part. Now in terms of the gameplay length, the submarine part is around 6 hours of gameplay, and I can confirm it is at least well over 3 hours, but that's all I can manage to check out today. But in all honesty, it does start to just feel like a slog after the first 2 hours. The game always stays in some sort of tutorial mode for some reason, always reminding you what button to press, which can get obviously a bit annoying. But regardless how disappointed I am that they left the best bit out of this early access version of Titanic VR, I think they did a pretty good job on this port in terms of the visuals, at least for the underwater sections. The submarine interior does actually look a bit average, but when you look out at the submarine windows, the game actually looks really quite nice, and the ship itself looks excellent underwater. Now don't get me wrong, it's not photorealistic, but it does look pretty convincing. The game overall does look pretty dated, but it still feels pretty cool to explore this sunken ship, and some of the missions do actually keep you wanting to play more. But oh my god, this is even more slow paced than I actually remember. And on the list of annoyances, the recentering is absolutely crap on the Quest version. You can never quite sit in the same place and be positioned where you want, because the camera just seems to have a bit of a life of its own, leading to you clipping in and out of environment and bits of things that you're trying to grab. They also didn't bother to give the players hands, which I think is incredibly lazy for a 2025 re-release, especially when you're in the item room where you have to clean and inspect what you've recovered from the Titanic. And it's also all teleport movement, and it just feels incredibly old for where VR is right now, especially when you combine the fact, as I said, you got no hands and the recentering is an issue. Overall, I would say hold off on this purchase right now unless you're absolutely desperate to do the submarine part. The graphics do look good for a Quest 2 game, but I don't think it looks very good for a Quest 3 game. It does feel old, it looks pretty old, and the one mission I think most people will want to play is currently missing, and I'll update you when it actually gets added to the game. But that's all I've got for you today. Remember to leave a like if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more VR content, and I'll see you all on the next one.